Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So in this video we are going to be making a little Anvil Swage block stand. These are from some flame cut anvils that I had a little while ago that were also combo as a Swage block. You guys have asked for it, you've been waiting a really long time, and I really appreciate your patience. So that's what we're going to be making today. I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you stay around till the end and enjoy the ride. So thanks for watching, and let's get right to it. So real quick before we get into the main portion of our build, let's go over some of the tools that you're going to need. You're going to need a mallet. You're going to need yourself a chisel, just a standard wood chisel, preferably nice and sharp and polished. It'll make your life a lot easier. So you need a mallet and a chisel. Of course, you can go with a fancier mallet like what you see right here. That is always an option. I'll leave a link to who made this mallet down in the description down below, so be sure to check him out. Not a sponsor of the video, just a good friend that sent me a really nice looking mallet. So again, if you're interested in getting mallets somewhat like these and getting rid of ugly ones like these and adding that to your arsenal, definitely check him out. So without further ado, let's keep going on here. You're going to need a speed square, a carpenter's pencil, a 1/4 inch drill bit. This can just be a metal drill bit or wood metal, whatever. It doesn't have to be special. You're going to need a drill or an impact drill that can take and drive a 9/16 socket. You're going to need a regular drill, another just regular drill to be able to drill out with a 1-inch paddle bit, and you'll also need the 1-inch paddle bit. You'll need 12 6-inch long, 3/8 inch lag bolts. Whatever that is in your country, say 10 mil lag bolts. You'll want those in the appropriate socket to fit that. And then each one of these also need a washer as well. And then last but not least, a tape measure, some safety glasses, and gloves if you prefer. So that's basically the tools that are going to be required. It's pretty low cost endeavor, but you know, it does require a few things. Now you can avoid doing the hammer and the chisel if you just want to saw down through to make this joint that I'm going to show you how we make this here in a second. But I find it's easier to just use a chisel, and you know, it's a little bit funner. So let's get over to the materials and what we're going to use. So I just forgot to mention in the other thing, you will of course need a circular saw. All right, enough of the tooling. So we are going to be making this out of 4-inch by 6-inch treated timbers, and you're going to need approximately an 8-foot long length of this 4x6 treated timbers. Now this is off of another project that I had. I bought some big long 12-footers, and in fact I think this came off the beam hammer build that I was doing, but you'll need at least a 1 8-foot length of this treated timber, 4x6, to do this. And as you can see, I've already got some lines marked out here. This is going to be waste material marked with the X here, and then here's going to be the notch that we're going to be putting in one end. This is going to be 1/2 of the thickness of the Swage block anvil, which that is about 2 inches thick. Give or take, they vary just a little bit, but it's about 2 inches thick, so this needs to be about 1 inch or 25 mil that way. Also, and then we scribe it all the way across, all the way to the other side. We're going to leave this thickness to the outside, this thickness here to the outside, and it's also 4 inches deep. So that's how long this is, or that's how deep that Anvil Swage block is going to sit in. That's going to make 1/2. Cut the middle, and it's going to go over, and this will make the other half. Now I'm going to do this 2 more times. I've already got the anvil mounted in one that I did previous, and we'll get to that here in a second after we talk a little bit about the anvil, the anvil height. I'll show you that here in just a second. So here we are at the anvil block itself. This is kind of what we're going for. I just have this mocked up with some pipe clamps here to hold this together. These are not necessary, but these are very, very handy if you need to take and hold stuff like this together. But this is the general principle of this ideal. It holds the block so you can access all the various different sides. So let me roll that around. It is a 35-pound block after all. But so this way you can access all these various sides. Now obviously you can see how much longer this piece is than the actual stand. So that's why we need two of them. We are going to sandwich these things together like you see here after we notch cut them. And then we are going to sandwich them this way as well. So there's going to be additional sandwiching this way. So we have support out here. So you can use all these slots and then you can turn it up, and it won't stand in there by itself right now, but then you can turn it up and use this as an actual anvil top. Now, quick word here. You want this to be at knuckle height. The height of the anvil, these come at about 11 inches long. These are about 11 inches tall. So you need to make that adjustment to where your notch is, to where that's 11 inches from, you take 11 inches off the total height, and then you add back 4 there to come up the distance that it needs to be able to hold the block securely. So this is 11 inches tall, and it came out to that this whole piece needed to be a total of 23 inches tall for a knuckle height of about 30 inches. So standing loosely with a loose fist at the top of the anvil, just like we set up other anvils, that was a comfortable height for this to be. So this whole piece was 23 inches long in total, and then minus the 4 inches there to actually make up the difference here. That's just a little bit of math. It's a little bit of head scratching, but what you want to do is you want to put a tape measure down by your leg and let your arm dangle loosely with a loose fist, and wherever your knuckles are, that's how high you want this height to be. So then do your addition and subtraction, simple math, to make up the difference in your actual cut here. I'm just giving you the measurements that I used. So without further ado, let's go over now. Let's get this cut, and I'll show you how to make these notch cuts real quick, and then we'll do the assembly. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this notch cut. So first things first, the thickness here, you need to set the depth stop of your circular saw blade to take and cut the thickness, or just a little bit beyond the thickness preferably. You can do this by simply loosening up without the battery in it. You don't want the battery in it or it to be plugged in while you're doing this operation. Let's keep it safe out there. You want to pull back your guard and you want to take a measurement, if you will. You can do this by setting it on here, or for camera purposes, you'll use a tape measure to measure out that 1 inch. Now I happen to have my little trusty little ruler here. I'm going to measure this, the bed here, until I get the proper height that I'm looking for, which that seems to be about it, which is just a fudge, just a small thing over 1 inch. That's going to be good. That's going to give me the proper working height, and then I'm going to tighten back down my thing. So that's going to give me the proper cut height that I need, so this way I can rip right through this piece, no problem. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a battery, and throw this on here, and we're going to make our first cut. By the way, whichever way you decide to cut, if you're cutting to the inside of the line towards the waste material, or the outside of the line, keep note of that and then do that on all your pieces. Otherwise you'll have some height disparity there, which we don't want. So here we go, let's make this cut. Looks like I didn't set that up just deep enough, so now I'm going to go ahead and readjust that real quick. Take your battery out, loosen it. I'm going to give this just a fuzz more. And this doesn't have to be overly accurate, as accurate as you like to be anyhow. So now I'm going to take one more cut on this. There you go, a lot closer. So I'm going to do it that side, and we're going to do it to the other side as well. All right, so we've got our chisel here, and we're going to follow right along our line. Hopefully I can do this without being too intrusive in the way. And we're going to make a score mark. And keep it on here. Again, you can saw this if you want. Up to you. I like just using the chisel because I feel that it's a very quick way to remove this material. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. And as you can see, it's already opening up, and it's perfect for these little stands. There we go. We'll come along the side here and give it a place to cut through too. Sometimes it's important to do that. I'm going to come along the sides. And that'll help it separate where we want it to be. Nice and easy. Okay. Now right on from the top, we're going to fracture these chunks a little bit. And that'll help us clean this right up. There we go. There we go. Now once you get that off, now you can go ahead and clean this up with chisels, whatever roughness you may have. It doesn't take that long to do this. It's a fun way of getting it done. I've totally knocked it clear out of here, out of view. Hopefully you guys can still see that. It hasn't been too horrible. Take you out here. All right, so there you go. There's that joint. Hopefully you guys see that fine. Sorry if it moved a little bit out of view. But again, we're gonna make another joint just like this on the other end, and then we're gonna separate the two. So I'll be back right with you once we do that, and we'll be ready for the assembly work. All right, so we've got both ends notched. Now we've set up our saw to the full depth that I can get out of this circular saw blade, which isn't very deep actually. It's just a little over 2 inches. It's like 2 3/8 of an inch depth that I can get between my bed here and the tips of the saw. So we are going to have to make 2 cuts on this. This is why it's important to know which side of the cut you went on, whether you went on to the inside or the outside of the cut. Again, just follow that through onto the other ones as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this cut going, and we will cut onto the other side as well. Had a thing blocking my fence there. There we go, got that one cut. I think this one is going to need to be squared up just a bit. There we go. Right on over, and do the same thing on the other side. go. And now we'll make this cut here. Voila. Now, I'd like to point this out. Somebody who's actually very talented at carpentry will be able to do this a lot nicer, do a lot nicer job than I am. But ultimately, I am a metal worker, not a carpenter, and my main focus is to get back to forging. So, I'm sure there's going to be tons of Instagram posts and Facebook posts around people are making these stands much prettier than mine. So please don't take mine as an example and say, ooh, if that's how hideous that turns out, I don't want no part of it. Trust me, you could probably make it better than me. So there we go. There we have it. We have that cut out, that's notched, that's ready to accept that now. The last part we have to do here is do the assembly work. So I'll get the camera reset up here and we'll show you how that's going to go down. Okay, so I've got some layout marks here on this piece. Now, this just so happens to be, works out to where it's in 6-inch increments, or 6 inches on center is where I'm going to take and put these bolt holes through. The reason for that being is this is 19 inches in total from here to here, so that works out really good. So that means 1 inch below that, that's our starting point, and then make 3 even marks. Each haft is going to have 6 entire bolts. So we need to take and make sure that we have this laid out properly. We're going to do 3 lags right down through here. And then we're going to do, you only have to do one side, lay it out like this, because this is going to lag into the other, and then so on and so forth. So the other side, the other half of these, that's going to go next to this, is going to be laid out the same. So there'll be 6 down the front of your block, and there'll be 6 down the side of your block. So to do on this, we're going to go ahead and drill this out here with a 1/4 inch round, and we only need to do this one side. Just keep that in mind. It doesn't have to go all the way through. We just want to prevent this side from cracking and give ourselves a bit of a guide for our paddle bit. So right on through just like so. Take that out, switch it for your paddle bit. Make sure your paddle bit's in there straight. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and drill this down by about 1 inch on this side. An inch in depth is all you should need. If it goes a little longer, a little under, no big deal. Dump those holes out. And now we're prepped to go ahead and screw these things together. Again, you don't have to prep the half that you're going to, because that's where the lag bolts are screwing into. So the reason why we've drilled such a large hole is because we need room for the washer to go down through. The recess is so this way we can make sure that we get all the way through the other block when we get it through there. So now hopefully I'm in shot and everything's okay. Hopefully you can see that just fine. Now, it's really good of you to go ahead and get this thing perfectly squared up when you're ready to go there. We want to lay the block we're going to down. We want to make sure our bottom is perfectly lined up the best that we can. Make sure everything's nice, sitting nice and square. And we will go ahead and screw this right down with the lag bolts. So you want to make sure you get the one in there first, and then you want to check for squareness and everything before you continue on that path as you go. Now that's going to pull down nice and tight. And as you can see, that's going to make a really, and I do mean really solid stand, having that right down in there. So hopefully you guys can see that just fine. So now we'll go ahead and move on to our next one. And we'll continue this. I'll do this on the other stand as well, and then I'll show you how to screw them all together, the whole bundle. Okay, so here we go for the final bit. Now, what I've done here is I've made sure that I make there an inch difference. So this was 18 inches. I moved my line to the 17-inch mark to make my bolts that are going through the opposite direction. Be careful not to line them up as I've done in the past, where I've made 18-inch all the way around, and then the bolts, as they come in, you end up deadheading into a bolt that you've already pre-drilled through the piece. So just like before, we're going to go ahead and pre-drill out just this one side here. To give our, I kind of did that wrong, but I went in a little crooked there. We're drilling through this piece, pre-drilling our first portion here. And you need to be able to do that roughly 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're dividing that in 2 instead of going down through the halfway points as we did over here on this side. The reason why we need to secure both halves is you got to remember these aren't glued or anything like that, although that might be a great idea, is put some construction adhesive through here before you go on to this process. But these are not glued together, so they are technically 2 individual functioning pieces. So we need to make sure that both are anchored to the 2 that are underneath on the bottom side. That way we are making the most strongest joint that we can, and it will be very effective. So I'll go ahead and make sure all my stuff is lined up here. Yep, I'm still lined up, good. So we're gonna go ahead and switch. Go to our paddle bit. Nice and tight. And now this one, however, this is a lot deeper. So we're going to end up having to drill to get into that other beam a good solid 1 to 2 inches. So we're going to have to go about 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches with this 1-inch paddle bit in order to take and get that to snug up. Now, I only had 12 bolts to work with. Actually, just by the grace of God, it worked out just fine for me to be able to actually do this project and not have to go to the store. It might be behoove you to do the opposite side coming back. Again, offsetting again for these bolts that are going through this direction, and drill up into this piece as well. Remember, there is no such thing as too many screws for this piece. So let's go ahead and get this drilled out. Spinning a little bit. There we go. Get that tightened up. There you go, that's 2 inches, and keep going down through them. Make sure you get all the dust out of the holes there. Get this set up. And now we just want to go ahead and make sure all your edges are squared up and aligned to where the anvil is going to sit nice, and this is going to sit nice on the floor. It is possible that with all your cutting that you might end up with some unevenness on the bottom or the top. That can always be sanded down or planed off a little bit later if you're working on a perfectly flat concrete floor and that causes some rocking issues for you or anything like that. You can do that. So I'm splitting the difference here, making sure she's good. One piece of wood's just a little bit wider than the other, so I'm splitting the difference to make sure everything's centered up. It looks like everything is. So now for the long process of driving our screws, our anchors home. Okay, so there we have it. As you can see, just got those all done. This should be about as solid as humanly possible now. Shouldn't have no problems whatsoever. As you can see, we've got that all together now. It's acting as one unit, and that's exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and put this anvil on here and take a look of how this whole thing looks and has turned out. And there you have it. Pretty simple stand to create. Now, I'm going to call this the basic stand for this. You can make all sorts of attachment methods if you want. You know, there's a lot of different things that you can do with that here. I will probably make a more elaborate stand at some point, put some tong racks here, put some guards here to stop the swedge block from falling off if you use it in the swedge formation, and I'll do another video on that, but I just don't want to do that right now, so just for the sake of time, if you will, but it should work pretty well in this orientation. You'll be able to drive a hardy tool down in there, or punch material. You'll be able to work it in this direction, be able to hammer on it. Got pretty good rebound there. And then, you can also work it down in the different swedge orientations as well. Although I would watch this horn, make sure that's not on your hammer side deal here. But you can work several different pieces of bar stock in there, flip it over, use this giant hoop here, bender, and or flip it over again, and now use this side as well. Like I said, I'll probably come up with a few other little alterations over this as we go, as I go along using this. I plan on using this as a demonstration anvil, so when I go and I do some demonstrations and things for like the public, just because it has so many different things that I don't have to take a bunch of tools with me. I don't have to take a bunch of different swedges or things like that. And just, again, it's just a great little small anvil, really light and portable that I can take just about anywhere. So it should be fairly handy to take and have on hand and do that with. But as you can see, it's a pretty solid stand. It can rock on you and walk on you. So it may be behoove us to put a 2x4 across the bottom here or something, give it like a little wider base, if you will. That's entirely possible to do that, but this is the basic stand setup for all you guys that have been waiting. And again, this just makes it a great way that you can sit there, you can punch holes through material this way, use any of these sitting on top, and it's like having this nice portable stump option. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, and as always, God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.